Kristaps Porzingis could opt into his contract with the Wizards. That would make him a free agent in 2024. The New York Knicks have discussed upgrading their center position to give them more offensive firepower. If Kristaps is available, the New York Knicks could be entertaining a reunion with Porzingis. But Porzingis isn't the only center that's on the Knicks' radar. There's been internal discussions about adding another center in free agency that has a lot of fanfare and fans within the organization, especially among one of our senior basketball consultants. We're going to talk about this and so much more today. Let's get started. Kristaps Porzingis may be looking to opt into his contract with the Washington Wizards. That would make a New York Knicks reunion possible with the big man in 2024. According to Keith Smart of Sports Track, something that is picking up more and more buzz, Kristaps Porzingis opting in for his $36 million with the Washington Wizards next season. Under the old front office, the assumption was Porzingis would opt out and re-sign on a long-term deal. He may take the money now and hit free agency in 2024. Massive news again from the Washington Wizards end. Bradley Beal and that whole situation is going on right now regarding he might be moved, he might be traded. So that's your first domino in regards to getting assets for the Wizards to start their rebuild. The next domino is Kristaps Porzingis. He was looking to sign a long-term deal with the Washington Wizards. A lot of reports had Kristaps Porzingis opting out and not accepting the $36 million that's on the table and going ahead and getting a new deal that was more lucrative and longer term with the Washington Wizards. That has been what the reports have indicated for a while. But now with the Bradley Beal situation going on, I'm sure KP has to rethink some things in regards to if Washington is the place he wants to call home for long term. Washington may be able to give him the most money, but if they're starting a rebuild, they may not want to give up all of that money and tie up all of that money into Kristaps Porzingis or some of these other players. They much rather move these players, get assets back, and start their rebuild as soon as possible so they can start getting into a place where they can contend. You need to have players that you trust, believe in, and want to move forward with. And it's clear that the Washington Wizards do not have that. They're moving on from Beal after 11 years of it not working. 11 years too long, in my opinion. Kristaps Porzingis is coming off one of his healthiest seasons in his life. So, of course, he's looking for more money. Of course, he's looking for a long-term deal. The unfortunate part is he's looking for that with the Wizards, and the Wizards are likely not going to do that because they're looking to rebuild, especially if they move Beal. So Kristaps Porzingis opting into his $36 million option makes a lot of sense. He can have another hopefully healthy year with the Washington Wizards. He can play all the way up to his contract and past that, and potentially in free agency get a longer term deal that's more lucrative that he wouldn't have gotten this year with the Wizards with another team. It is possible, especially if he opts in and tests free agency next year. According to Steve Popper from Newsday, Porzingis was rumored to possibly get a second chance in New York. He reported this on May 20th that the center is a potential replacement for Mitchell Robinson, who's a rebounding demon but offensively limited. Ian Begley also stated that Porzingis Knicks rumors wouldn't shock him. And they don't shock me either. Why would you? Do the Knicks need more of an offensive upgrade at the 5 spot? Yes. Does Mitchell Robinson do everything you need him to do on defense but almost nothing on offense? Yes. Would Porzingis give you the defense that you needed along with the offensive firepower that you also need from the 5 spot in the modern NBA? Yes. If Kristaps is available in free agency and wants to come to the Knicks and the Knicks have the cap to sign him, I would absolutely make that move. Listen to some of the numbers from Porzingis this past season. He was able to play 65 games this past season, averaging a career best 23.2 points, 8.4 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and 1.5 blocks on 49.8% shooting from the floor and 38.5% shooting from deep. That is insane for a 7'3" big man. Insane. He is a great shooter. We already knew he was going to be a great shooter when he came out of the draft and started shooting threes for the Knicks. So he already knew what he had in his bag. We knew he was a unicorn, like Kevin Durant dubbed him. But he's coming off of 65 games One of his most healthy and productive seasons that we've ever seen. You don't think he's looking to get paid? You don't think he wants a long-term deal? He absolutely wants those things. But if he's not going to get that with Washington, the easiest thing for him to do is to opt into his contract, play elite for another year, go into free agency, and get that long-term lucrative deal with another team. I am not, however, trading with Washington to get KP in a sign-in trade or anything else like that. Because any move like that reduces the Knicks' assets and allows them to make less substantial moves after they add these key pieces. I'm not saying the Knicks don't need to make a move. They do. But they have to understand value. They have to understand contracts. They have to understand what's coming up in regards to free agency. And they also have to understand when it's too much. Leon Rose understands and has shown already that if a deal is too much for him, he's out. It has to make sense for the franchise and for the Knicks to move forward in order for him to make that deal. If Kristaps Porzingis hits free agency next year, one team that's going to call potentially to reunite him with New York would be the New York Knicks. Definitely watch that story as this develops as the season progresses. If you thought Kristaps Porzingis was the only big man that the New York Knicks were looking to add this offseason, you'd be wrong. According to recent reports, the New York Knicks are looking to add Naz Reid to the team this offseason. Now, Naz Reid is a name I'm sure you recognize. It's from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Naz Reid was an undrafted prospect, and he was given a green light with Minnesota to help contribute to that team. He plays on the bench a lot, but he also filled in for Karl Anthony Towns when Towns was injured this past season. And he was a revelation for some of those games for Minnesota while Cat was out. Listen to the numbers he gives you when Cat was out. As a starter, Naz Reid put up 12.4 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks in 20 games, including 12 starts. In 20 minutes, you give that type of production, that means as soon as you're on the court, you are impacting the game. That is exactly what the New York Knicks need from that 5 spot. Did you hear the point production? Did you hear that offensive gift that he has? There aren't that many big men that come off the bench today that give you that type of offense, defense, and production. Naz Reid, though, checks all of those boxes. Naz Reid is doing this in 20-minute bursts off the bench and can start when you need him to. So let's say there's an injury to one of our big men. Naz Reid can come off the bench, step into that role as a starter, and help contribute immediately. And as soon as our healthy centers come back, we can push him back to the bench, and he can come off the bench and make an impact immediately. His shooting, his offensive gifts, not to mention that he's also a very good defender. He can block shots and he can rebound as well too. That makes him a crucial piece under a Tom Thibodeau system that loves big men that can defend and rebound. He can do that for Tom Thibodeau. He can do that for the New York Knicks. But he will also not be a liability on offense. He's going to give you buckets. He's going to give you scoring. He's going to shoot the ball well. He's going to be able to stretch the floor out a little bit for you to allow your drivers to penetrate and create a lot easier. Naz Reid is also on a bargain contract right now, given the production that he gives you. And he also has a lot of fans internally. One main key fan he has internally in the New York Knicks organization is Gerson Rosas, senior basketball consultant under Leon Rose, potentially the next GM of the New York Knicks. You might remember that name too from the Minnesota Timberwolves, as he was the president of the Timberwolves. He was also one of the bigger proponents in converting Naz Reid's two-way contract into a 4-year deal. That link, that connection, especially with the rise of Gerson Rosas in the New York Knicks ranks, and apparently him about to take the next GM spot for the New York Knicks, it would make a ton of sense for Naz Reid to come play out the rest of his contract and potentially sign a new deal with the New York Knicks this upcoming season. The New York Knicks are looking to upgrade this offseason, especially in areas that they saw they struggled in the playoffs. Shooting is one of those areas. A big man who can give you offensive gifts and firepower from the 5 spot is also needed as well too. And Naz Reid could be the addition the New York Knicks are looking to add this offseason. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of discussions and talks about RJ Barrett, where the Knicks see him, his trade value, if he's going to be traded, and if he's still a key player for the New York Knicks organization. Well, thanks to Bobby Marks from ESPN, we have a little bit more information to that. According to Bobby Marks, RJ is still a cornerstone for the New York Knicks. So I know a lot of us, including myself, were a little scared on that. But Bobby Marks reported the following on Ian Begley's The Putback Show. As long as his field goal percentage is moving in the right direction, RJ Barrett has a lot of value, not just to the Knicks, but throughout the league. But Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Quentin Grimes, those are your cornerstone pieces. If you're a New York Knicks fan and you're hearing this right now, some of you guys have to be happy. RJ Barrett was drafted by the New York Knicks. He's gotten better each and every year in his career, apart from this past season, although you could make the argument that in the playoffs, he was one of the best playoff performers for the Knicks behind Jalen Brunson. So if you're looking at that play and that production, it would make sense why the New York Knicks still value him and still consider him a cornerstone. Because cornerstone pieces show up when the lights are brightest and matter most. Jalen did that, and oh yeah, RJ Barrett did that too. There's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of stories involving RJ Barrett and potential trades this offseason. But as long as the New York Knicks consider him a cornerstone, it's likely that he will not be moved unless it's for a major star. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a comment below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, peace.